Hey folks, it's Brian here to Life After Layoff. I'm actually on the way to everybody's favorite place, the dentist, to get some long put off work done. So I'm not totally thrilled by it, but I guess we gotta do what we gotta do. But I wanted to just jump on really quickly because I was planning on making a video tonight, but I just realized I probably won't be able to talk much if my mouth is all numb. So I figured I would just do a quick car. Video about a question that keeps on coming up, and it's actually from another video that I did about job hopping and why I think job hopping is not a great solution to people's long-term income issues. That there's some advice going around that you should hop from job to job to job. And I get people asking me that question, is that a viable way to go up and to make more money? Because you make more money when you go from company to company, in a lot of cases, I should say. What I would say to that is, and in that other video I went into more detail about it, but what I'll say to it is, I think it's a viable option to do the job hopping if you only care about the first 10 years of your career. Because after that, it becomes much more difficult for you when you have to start justifying each job. And think of it from an employer perspective. If you're only lasting 6, 8, 10 months at a job, maybe a year at each job over the course of 10 years, you have 10 jobs in 10 years, it's a very valid concern on an employer's part for the employer to think that you're not going to stick around for them. And so why should they invest in all this time, training, energy on hiring you and training you up, and for you to only quit a year later to jump for another raise somewhere else? So the point of this whole thing is to be careful with your career decisions. And I think that job hopping in some cases is actually probably beneficial, especially if you're in an industry or you've worked for a company that is undervaluing you to begin with. And if you're somebody that has stayed in a company for a long period of time, generally speaking, that market's going to pass you by. If you stay, especially if you stay in the same role. If you move from role to role inside of a company, that's not job hopping so much, because you're under one umbrella. Your stability in the company, in other words, you've not moved from company to company to company, but you've been moving internally. That's totally fine. But it does look bad from an employer perspective if you're hopping from company to company external, like an external company, going from job to job to job, and you're only lasting, and I want to define what I feel job hopping is. There's necessarily no rule about it, but what I feel it is and what hiring managers have given me feedback on. Some hiring managers are really particular about this, and other managers will make comments about it. But if you do have a hopping resume, I almost always hear the hiring manager is really shy to talk to that candidate. It doesn't mean that they won't speak to you, but what it means is, let me fix it. What it means is that your interview is going to be more on the defensive. So you're going to have to go in now defending why you have only stayed in roles for a short period of time. And you don't really want to go into an interview on the defensive. That's not a great way, because now you're always behind the 8 ball. Now you have to play extra hard, work extra hard to convince them that you're the right fit. And you've got that elephant in the room. So let me talk about what I think job hopping is versus job upgrading. I think job hopping for me is when you have positions, multiple positions that, and usually they're in quick succession, where you have 6 months, 8 months, a year, maybe a year and a half at each one, and that's the longest that you work. Usually I look over the course of like a 10-year. If you've been in the workforce for a while, I look over the course of a 10-year work history, and we kind of look at how many positions have you had in that 10-year period. And if it's more than 6 or 7, like that starts to get like, okay, you've only lasted, the longest you've lasted is a year at any one place. What the hiring manager is going to think is that either A, you're not effective at the job. In other words, you work at a company, and the company, you don't do well in the company, and the company either pushes you out, you get fired, you leave on your own accord because you think the heat's on you, for whatever the case might be, you get pushed out, and so then you have kind of a repeating pattern of that, and that's a, you know, that's a red flag. You know, just like there's red flags for employers, there's red flags for employees too. And then as far as your long-term dedication to a position, they're going to start thinking that you don't have dedication. And if you're somebody that is always jumping ship for, if you're on the hourly side, the next company down the street offers 25 cents more, yeah, that might be great for the immediate term where you make a few extra bucks in your paycheck. But the long-term impact of that is it's going to really start to hurt you, where after that 10-year period, and this is not hard and fast rule, but it's generally speaking after 10 years, that's really just, you establish yourself as a job hopper. It's going to be a lot harder for you to get a high quality position, because you've essentially, I mean, if you think about it in terms of relationships, if you've got somebody that is just goes from relationship to relationship to relationship and is never in a relationship longer than 6, 8, 10 months and just has so many partners, they start to become less desirable to somebody that's really looking for a high quality partner, right? You know, if you kind of liken it to that, we all want to have high quality partners and high quality jobs and high quality careers and all of these things. It all kind of is related. So we want to make sure that we are treating our career very carefully. And there is value in moving from company to company, because you do get bigger bumps, and that does happen, especially if you're underpaid. But I would only suggest making the move if it's you're really undercomped or you've been at a place for a long period of time. But I would also try to do it so that it's strategic. In other words, it's getting you closer to a career goal. If you're just moving laterally all the time and you're just chasing the buck, eventually you're going to hit the top end of your salary band. The companies in a market will only pay a certain amount for a job. And once you work your way up, and usually in the beginning part of your career, you're going to see the biggest bumps. Sorry, my thing keeps on slipping. But you're going to see the biggest bumps in the beginning part of your career, because you have the most salary band growth. And until you hit there's a video that I made about the crossroads of the employment curve. And if you're wanting more information on this, you should check that video out. But the crossroad, once you hit that first major crossroads, you have to make a decision if you're going to go in a strategic or a tactical career path. And if you go into the strategic career path, which is like leadership, then you're going to open up into much bigger salary bands and you'll continue your career growth. But if you stay on the tactical, and people who usually job hop don't have strong strategic careers. I don't generally see that at all in resumes. But the people who stay in the tactical and just hop their way to the top of that base level range for that position, generally speaking, do not have, they'll hit the top end of that range within 8 to 10 years, and then they'll just basically be meriting out the whole time. So you get your like 1 or 2 year merit, and 1 or 2% increase every year, and then you're kind of stuck in your salary band. And then folks who have been doing this for a long time, feel free to chime in. But after that 10-year mark, if you've been doing a lot of short-term positions and you're on an individual contributor career path, you're going to notice that your raises are not going to be big. You're going to be stuck in a salary band, and then you're going to be kind of pigeonholed in a job hopping career path, and you're going to be kind of labeled that. So now you got to look at, is contracting the best route, and then just kind of commit to it, where you're kind of a free agent, which is a viable way. I mean, you can make decent money doing that. It's a stressful lifestyle, but you can make money doing that. But I would just say, if you are looking for a job upgrade, let me fix this again. I think I have to tighten my thing down. If you're looking for a job upgrade, then it's completely a viable thing. In other words, the job upgrade I would consider viable reasons for leaving and going to another company. That's, even if it's a lateral, is you're stuck in a company that doesn't pay you to the market. You are, sorry, there's a motorcycle right next to me. You're stuck in a company that doesn't pay you to market. You are in a role for a long period of time and kind of blocked, and you're looking to move laterally to start moving up a career path again. Or maybe you're looking to jump industries and get into something new, and this new company offers you a chance to get your foot in the door in the new industry, which can then open up your career path again. So I think that those are viable reasons, with promotional opportunities too. But if you're just looking well, this is the same type of industry, same type of company, but this company is going to pay me $5 grand more or 50 cents more an hour, you know, it's fine to chase the buck for a little bit, but just be real careful, because you will quickly find yourself pigeonholed, and it'll be much harder for you in the long run. So that's what I meant by job hopping versus job upgrading. It's okay to do a little bit, but don't rely on that as a strategy. Some people are saying, well, you leave a job after once every year, you leave your job and you go from job to job, and I see people making comments about that, and I think that's really bad advice, especially if you care about the long-term career. If you don't care about your long-term career, and you just kind of want to every year, I couldn't imagine every year having to look for a new job and like going through that whole process. You're never going to invest on 401k, you're never going to build up vacation time, you're never going to kind of go through all of those typical things. Plus just the stress of always having to have a resume up to date and justifying, you know, yourself and all of those kind of things. So something to think about if you're somebody that's really looking at job hopping. I'm not discouraging you from doing that, but I would just caution you to use your best judgment and make sure that whatever position you're going into, it makes the most sense. So hopefully this helps clarify job hopping versus job upgrading, and leave a comment below if you've got any other things that you'd like me to clarify. Generally speaking, I know a lot of people give me questions on, hey, make a video about this or about that. I do hear them and I do read them. What I will say is that I do try to focus on things that a majority of people are going to get value from, versus just some one-off that only maybe a very small percentage of my audience would find value in. So if you've got a you know, kind of a bigger question that most people can gain value from, feel free to leave a comment about it, and I will take it into consideration. Otherwise, appreciate everybody watching today. I'm almost to the dentist. Like, I'm a little dreading it, but we'll see how it goes. But you know, it'll be for the good. So thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.